Is Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves worth watching? Did they do justice to the popular source material? Welcome back to another video, fellas, and in this video I will give you a quick, non-spoiler review for the latest Dungeons & Dragons movie. So by all means, even if you haven't seen the film, do not worry, I promise you I will not give away any spoilers. So are you ready? Let's go! It was only last week that I went to see John Wick Chapter 4 in the cinemas, and yet this week I still went back to the cinema to watch Dungeons & Dragons because this is how much I was looking forward to it. In case you never heard of it, the movie is based on the tabletop role-playing game Dungeons & Dragons, and it is set in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting. And now, the first thing that I liked about this movie is that even though it is based to the vast world of Dungeons & Dragons, you can still watch it even if you don't know much about the tabletop game. Personally, I admit, I know very little about the world upon which this film is based, but that is not a barrier in this franchise. After all, every Dungeons & Dragons game is wildly different from the last, with the world, races, classes, etc. And now the film cleverly happens to use the very popular Forgotten Realms campaign setting, which I guess the creators of the film chose wisely. So to sum up, you don't actually need to know much about Dungeons & Dragons to follow along with Honor Among Thieves. It's a film which lays the world and plot out swiftly and effectively. So here is a quick premise of the story. A former bard turned thief named Edkin, played by Chris Pine, and his band of thieves, which consists of Michelle Rodriguez as a barbarian named Holga, Justice Smith as Simon, an insecure half-elf sorcerer, and Hugh Grant as a shifty, witty rogue named Forge Fitzwilliam. So, to not give any spoilers as I promised, the band helps the wrong person steal the wrong thing, and two of them get thrown in jail for it. The film then follows the hero's journey to redemption, and their quest to save the world and redeem themselves after all the bad things they did. It's a simple enough plot, and the variety of worlds and races Honor Among Thieves weave together is still somehow easy to follow without having any prior knowledge of it. Moving on, the acting performances. Now, the real secret to selling a bold fantasy blockbuster is to get actors that can persuade you that they actually exist in the fantasy world, and in this film, everyone is doing their absolute best in their roles. In my opinion, every actor on the film did such an amazing work portraying their respective characters. And this is where this film hit the jackpot, with a focus on great characters that the audience can easily and swiftly grow fond of. I mean, it is the job of the cast to carry the weight of the adaptations over the finish line, and this cast is doing some heavy lifting. First of all, Chris Pine delights as a know-it-all bard, Justice Smith is adorably unsure of himself and his sorcerer abilities, Michelle Rodriguez is once again giving one of her most badass performances yet, and Hugh Grant is, well, just playing Hugh Grant, but in the D&D universe. But in any case, his performance is charming and engaging as ever. Also, we get the amazing Sophia Lillis, who portrays the shape-shifting druid, and of course, Reggie Jean Page as a paladin with mystical powerful abilities, who appears as a wise guide figure to help the heroes on the journey. And last, we also get a small performance as a cameo by a big Hollywood star. But as I promised, I will not give away any spoilers, so I will not reveal which actor is this mysterious and wonderfully played cameo. You will find out, fellas, when you watch the movie. Or if you Google it, but that's just stupid. Moving to the visual effects and the general look of the film. The budget for the movie was $150 million. And that is quite the budget, and thankfully, the CGI did not disappoint. The smooth transitions when Sophia Lillis transforms into different animals is something to definitely look out for. The mystic burial grounds give a chilling aura, and of course the dungeons themselves are also presented in a wonderful way. So by all means, the big budget seemed to do its work perfectly well in terms of the visual effects as well. And so in case you haven't realized so far, the verdict of this video is simple. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is definitely a movie worth watching, especially in the cinemas, because this is the way to appreciate the amazing work done by the VFX team, the sound designers, and the rest of the film crew and cast. Basically, things that you will miss when you watch the film from the comfort of your own home, unless if you have a full-size cinema in your home, then yeah. In any case, and by all means, I highly recommend you go and watch D&D in the cinemas, fellas. And no, I am not sponsored to say this, I simply and genuinely believe that this is the fantasy film the world was waiting for right now. And to be honest, the film has amazing scores and reviews, with a 7.7 score on IMDb and even better Rotten Tomatoes scores, where the critic score is 90% and the audience score is 94. And I think this speaks for the movie itself. The film is for everyone. Literally, a movie made for all kinds of audiences. And that is very rare, especially in a mythical setting like Dungeons & Dragons. And in any case, if you are still skeptical whether to watch this movie or not, I will give you some good reasons to go and do so. Number 1, and like I mentioned earlier, this is by all means a fantasy adventure meant for everyone. Regardless of age, gender or whatever, the movie has something to offer to everyone. Number 2, the story and the writing are actually very good. The film does have its fair share of fun and jokes, but they are always made appropriately, without messing the whole mood of the film. The main story is compelling enough, but so are the twists and turns, the jokes, and I really can't say anything more without spoiling the movie. So moving on to number 3, there is no political messaging. When I said the movie was meant for all audiences, it is something I totally meant. There is no hidden political message in the film, which is also quite rare in today's world. Moreover, the movie is so diverse, but it does not feel forced, which again is the case with many movies and TV adaptations of today's world, where everything has to be politically correct. I don't know how they did it, but they actually managed to explore the vast world of Dungeons & Dragons and provide with diversity without even making you feel like it's a thing to think about. If you're tired of being hammered over the head with cultural, political and war stuff, then you don't have to worry about that here. This really does feel like a movie made by people who play and love Dungeons & Dragons, with the primary focus being to spread that love, with a good story, lovable characters and plenty of action and magic. And last but not least, in any case, number 4, I think we should support this kind of movies. We should reward this kind of film by seeing it in the theater. And actually this is the way that it's meant to be seen. There are so many bad movies these days, and so many of the biggest films are part of massive franchises that have grown awfully stale at this point. Yes, while this is a part of Dungeons & Dragons, it's still a whole new story with new characters set in a world that hasn't really been explored in any meaningful way on the big screen. Personally, I'd love to see more like it, and to see Paramount make films that take place in other Dungeons & Dragons settings, or maybe with other established characters in the Forgotten Realms. Plus, I love the movies. I want movie theaters to survive. I mean, it got a bit worrying there with the pandemic. Just like Top Gun Maverick became a big theater blockbuster event that came almost out of nowhere, I'd love to see this movie become a major theatrical success as well. And so this is really my non-spoiler review, fellas, and I'll say again, if we want to see more adaptations like Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, then we gotta support such films by going to the theater where we can. Personally, I enjoyed the film so much, and it surprised me by being way better than I originally expected it to be. And so, let me close this video by saying that this film is a fantasy adventure movie definitely worth watching and enjoying in the cinema, and I highly recommend it to all audiences of all ages. Thank you all for watching, fellas. Until the next one, have an amazing time, and I'll see you all later.
If the existing plan fails, I make a new plan.
So you make plans that fail?
No.
He also plays the lute.